Last class, we had an overview about PMI, PMPOC guide, PMP certification process, and best methodology to uh, prepare and pass the examination in the first attempt. So today we will, continue with the discussion. We've only discussed about one definition in the last class. What is a project? So, according to PMPOC guide, a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. So, all the work we are doing are not project work. Either it will be a project or it will be an ongoing operation, right? So, if you want to say or you want to know it is a project or not, you have to ask two questions for a given scenario. Do we have a definite start date and end date for the work we have done or we are doing? If the answer is yes, that means that work is temporary, definite start and definite end. And at the end of the project, you are delivering something new, a unique product, service, or result. Then what you did or doing is a project. If not, it will be a business as usual activity or ongoing operations. As we discussed in the last class, in the examination, they will not ask you what is a project. For PMP exam, it will be situational questions. They will give you a scenario, and based on that scenario, you have to find the correct answer. So we will continue with few more definitions before we start with the core concepts. The second definition is what is project management? So according to PMPOC guide, again, all these project management definitions are coming from the standard from PMI called Project Management Body of Knowledge Guide, or shortly PMPOC guide. So we call it as Project Management Body of Knowledge Guide, right? Any questions? Right. So let me show it graphically for easy understanding. According to PMPOC guide, project management is the application of knowledge, skills, and tools and techniques to project activities to meet project requirements. So PMI was founded in 1969, we discussed in the last class, as a not-for-profit professional association. And, in 1984, they published this document. And then 1996, when they revised, they named it as PMPOC Guide. From there onwards, every 3 to 4 years, they are revising this material. So current edition we are having is 8th edition. For the PMP exam, you have to learn about 7th edition. After July, it will be based on 8th edition. This is a standard definition from the beginning of PMPOC Guide. From the first edition of PMPOC Guide till now, in the 8th edition of PMPOC Guide, we are having the standard. But in 7th edition, they have made some changes. What are the changes? I will mention that in the next slide. But let's understand the definition for the examination purpose. So, to manage a project, you have to have knowledge. That is the first part. You need to have project management skills. Second part. Third part is you should know the tools and techniques, for managing a project. Depends on the type of the project you are in. The tools and techniques, what you want to know, may differ. Anyway, let's go through that one by one. Knowledge. When you talk about knowledge, how can you gain knowledge? Type in the chat box. What are the options we are having in front of us to gain knowledge in a subject like project management? Again, it's not specific to project management. Gaining knowledge in any subject. How can you gain knowledge? Quickly type in the chat box. So obviously the training, very good. Training, you are in a training process. So through books, school experiences, learning experience, reading, training experience. Again, internet is another good source. You will get a lot of information from internet. Nowadays, we are having AI tools such as ChatGPT. You can learn from there, etc. All these can be broadly classified into experience and learning, right? You will gain knowledge from experience, and you will gain knowledge through learning. Learning from others, learning from books, learning from internet, learning from training, etc. But project management is not having knowledge. All of us, we are in the same training. So, what is project management? As you can see in the definition, it is the application of knowledge, right? By attending a training program like this, or reading a book, or going through internet will not make you a good project manager. So, how you are going to make use of that knowledge you are gaining from your experience, learning processes, and applying it in your project scenarios, and you are going to make a difference. So, as I told you, all of you, you are gaining the same knowledge, but how you apply it will differ. Depends on the type of the project you are in, depends on the, environment you are in, stakeholders, how, urgent it is to take a decision in that scenario. So accordingly, the way how will you apply the knowledge will differ. So project management is application of knowledge. And the second part is skills. Type in the chat box, what are the important skills required for a project manager? Again, we are talking about interpersonal skills. Skills required for a project manager. Communication. Okay. What else? Okay, communication, leadership. A good project manager should be a communicator, could be a leader, could be a negotiator, could be a decision maker. Unfortunately, many project managers lack that skill, making right decisions. So a good project manager should be a good negotiator, a good motivator, good problem solver, not a problem maker. Many project managers, they know how to make problem, but they are, very poor in solving the problems. Anyway, so again, you are going to apply all those skills to the project activities, and finally, knowing and applying the tools and techniques. So there are a lot of tools we are going to learn as part of this training, and many of them will be applicable for your project as well. Say, for example, again, we have two types. When you talk about tool, you can think about a software. We are not going to learn about any software in this training, like Primavera for planning, or Microsoft Project for planning, or risk management software, or a cost management software, resource management software. They are also tools, but we are not going to discuss anything about those kind of tools in our training. And you don't want to know about, or you don't want to be an expert in, say, Primavera or Microsoft Project to pass the PMP exam. There will be no questions. There are like other side where we talk about the soft tools. For example, you identified your stakeholders. You want to know who are the key stakeholders. We will learn about a tool called Power Interest Grid. You have a lot of risks in your project, in your risk register, but you want to know what are the top 10 risks for my project. We will learn about probability impact matrix and so on. We are going to learn about a number of tools which will be, or most of them will be applicable for your project, and some of them may be not specific to your industry, but you have to know that for the examination. And the techniques. So technique means the methodology, the way how you do the work. Simply put, if you want to, like, starting from A to reach B, you have number of options. You can go around the globe and you can reach B, but always there is a best option available. Maybe the shortest route is too risky. So the next best option is the technique by which you are going to, travel from A and to reach B. Then that is what we call as technique. The methodology by which you are going to do the work, perform the work. If the same work is given to all of us, we won't be doing it the same way. That means to do a piece of work, we have multiple options in front of us. Choosing the methodology opt or suitable for that scenario and applying it to the project activities and making the difference. So these are the three aspects in project management: application of knowledge, application of skills, and application of right tools and techniques to the project activities to meet project requirements. What do you mean by meeting project requirements? We will talk about that a little bit later. Before that, I will tell you about the additional information PMI have added in the 7th edition of PMPOC guide regarding the project management definition. So here what you says the systems view. They have added a systems view. This is very important for the PMP examination. You have to think from a systems perspective to answer a number of questions in the examination. So as I told you, from 1969 onwards, PMI in PMPOK guide, they are using this definition for project management. And you can ask me a question, is it like the new update is replacing the definition? The answer is no. In addition to the definition, they have added a systems view. Projects do not simply produce outputs, but more importantly, they enable those outputs to drive outcomes that ultimately deliver value to the organization and its stakeholders. This is from 7th edition of PMPOK guide and continued in the, or more emphasized in the 8th edition of PMPOK guide. So when I started my project management career 25, 26 years back, the main focus at that time was delivering within the timeline, as per the scope, as per the budget. So there, the main focus was about the outputs, right? So even this definition more or less links to the output. Even the definition of project, it says a temporary endeavor to create a unique product, service, or result, which is output. Output is what you're delivering, your deliverable. If you're constructing a building, the building is the output. If you're developing a software, software is the output. It depends on the type of the project, your outputs will vary. But if you are only focusing on the output, that is like 2 decades back. In the last 2 decades, it has changed. So how it has changed is, it is more of a systems approach, incorporating everything related to that particular project. More importantly, enable those outputs to deliver outcomes. Outcome is about the benefit. Before this particular product or that particular deliverable, how they were doing the work and what change this deliverable is bringing to the business, to the country, to the organization. That is the output. That ultimately deliver value to the organization and its stakeholders. Value is about the strategic importance, about the long-term benefit. Let's take a simple example to understand the difference between output, outcome, and value. So, in the past, say, customers are doing manual payment, cash payment. This we can all relate to, whether you are in construction or IT, you can all relate to. So the organization is initiating a project to introduce, say, mobile banking or online payment. So what is the expected output of this project? The expected output is the banking or online payment software with a customer interface where they can go and they can make the payment. So if you look into the old definition, you got a project and there you have to deliver or develop a mobile banking app or an online payment app. So you have a scope, defined scope, what features should be in that particular product. And there's a timeline, there is a budget, let's say 20 features they are saying should be in that particular app. And in 6 months, you have to deliver in a $50,000 budget. This is about the traditional way of managing the project. So I got this project, I'm the project manager, my focus is on delivering that output. As I told you, that's like 2 decades back. Even today, many organizations, many projects, they mainly focus on the outputs. For the PMP exam, you have to change your perspective from just output to outcomes and value. Outcome, what are the benefits the organization will be getting? Or from that particular, what change that I brought to that particular organization. So customers are now doing online payment, which is something new. They don't want to go to the organization. They can do the payment from their place and they can be in any part of the world and it's easy, whatever it is. These are the outcomes. But at the end of the day, what value it is delivering? This is going to increase the customer satisfaction, reduce the operational cost, So the bank saves money instead of having like 10 tellers to manage the payment. Now they have only one app and maybe two tellers. That increase the revenue. And customer, they don't want to go there, wait in a long queue and make the, I mean, we all can relate to this. So when we are looking into a project as project managers, look into all three. What is the output we are going to deliver? What outcome is expected from this? And what is the value we are going to deliver? So when we discuss with our stakeholders, when we make decisions, we will not only focus on finishing on time, or that doesn't mean we don't want to finish on time. Yes, as I told you, it's not like replacing the old definition. In addition to what you are doing, focusing on the time, cost, and quality, you should look into the project from the customer perspective. If I'm a customer of this project, you will know maybe an additional feature will be more beneficial. It is not in my scope. That doesn't mean I'm going to deliver, but I will highlight this in the meeting to my customer. Having this feature will be more beneficial because of XYZ benefits. Benefits means the value, the outcome. They will look into that and give you an approval. Yes, we are approving. Add this additional feature, add this additional, facility, whatever type of the project you are in. So that's how it is benefiting the project manager. So what I'm introducing here, we are going to discuss this throughout the training. Keep these three terminologies in mind when you're answering questions in the examination. Don't take a decision, in a given scenario only based on the output. You have to look into the outcomes. You have to look into the value. So this is a simple example. I can give you more examples, but we will leave it there. Like even if you take a construction project, let's say they're constructing a bridge or a road or whatever building, depends whatever project you are in. So let's say a road network they are upgrading. Yes. Ram, you have a question? Okay, right. So the output is that piece of road or bridge, whatever, or the facility. The outcome is the benefit actually, for example, that is helping to reduce the traveling time, reducing the accident, whatever, you can document the outcome. And the value is, so due to that, maybe this will contribute to the economy of that particular place. Maybe some new shops will come in and it will help to improve the business, whatever it is. We can relate that to the scope or the type of the project, the location of the project, etc. You have to take all these in account when you are making the decisions. More on that we will discuss throughout our training. Again, keep these three terminologies in mind: output, outcome, and value. Output is just the deliverable. Outcome is what difference it is bringing, and value is what benefits it is providing. Right. Now with that, we will see like why project management. Maybe we could practice a question. So normally what I recommend, you bring a secondary device. If you are joining from your laptop or your tablet, have a mobile with you. So you can answer the questions through your secondary device. So you can scan this QR code. I will also copy the link and paste it in the chat box. So you can either scan the QR code and you can answer the question, or you can use the link in the chat box and you can answer the question. A project manager has successfully delivered a new HR system on time, within budget, and with all planned features. What are your understanding from the first sentence? Your deliverable or outputs are good. Very good. Outputs, okay, excellent. That is understanding we need to have, in fact. However, the HR department reports that employees find it difficult to use, resulting in minimum adoption. So people are the users are finding it difficult to use, resulting in minimum adoption. Like maybe out of 100 people in that organization, 10 of them are using, 20 of them are using, others are not using it. What should the project manager organize about this project? So it's like a completed project. This is like a lessons learned. So you need to understand. Sometimes the question we discussed in the last class, what is the first thing to do? Or what is the best thing to do? Or they will give a scenario like this and they'll ask you what you should have done differently to change the scenario, or what you have learned from that scenario. So here, what should the project manager recognize about this project? Let's look into the options, right? The project failed to deliver the intended outcomes. 73% of you selected this. The project was successful because it met all project requirements, 5%. Project scope was not well defined. The project failed due to lack of risk management. Let's use elimination technique. One of the other important points you have to know for the exam is don't make assumptions. You have to find the answer from the given information. When you start make assumptions, you will start making mistakes. Got the point? Don't make assumptions. Take a decision from the given information. The project's scope was not well defined. Anywhere in the question, any part of the question is mentioning about that. Option 3. So it says you delivered on time within budget and all planned features. It doesn't say the scope, problem, or etc. So you can eliminate that. The project failed due to lack of risk management. Nothing mentioned in the exam, in the question about the risk management. So that is not going to be the answer. So either the project failed to deliver the intended outcomes or the project successful because it meet all project requirements. We haven't discussed about the definition of project success yet. We'll talk about it a little bit later. So only output has been met. So the outcomes and the benefit was not realized. So option B is also wrong. The right answer is option A. 73% of you answered correctly. The project failed to deliver the intended outcomes. You got the idea, right? So what happened during this particular project? Great. Going on. Why project management? Projects are getting managed probably from the beginning of mankind. There are a lot of transformation projects happened, if you see the history of human beings. One of the first is invention of wheel. That made a lot of change. The modern transport systems and etc. All came after the invention of the wheel. That was a transformation project, and a lot of, actually. Then computers, 90s. Computers was a transformation. How we are doing the work now is based on that transformation. And many philosophers say the recent transformation is AI. How AI is going to impact the white-collar job. And so on. We have to wait and see. That is another transformation. So projects are happening for a long time. But what is the difference between the projects we are managing in the last century or so and the before ones? In the past, there were no much constraints. Like, say, Taj Mahal in India, if I am right, they took 19 plus years to complete that structure. And you can think of other projects, maybe pyramids in Egypt or Great Wall of China. They took its own time, as many as resources, budget. They're not constraints. But if you are asked to recreate a project similar to one of those structures, they'll tell you to finish it in, let's say, maybe 3 years, 4 years. There will be resource limitation, and there will be a budget provided to you. So you have to make the project successful within some constraints. So that is the next discussion we are going to have. One of the responsibilities of a project manager is understanding and balancing these constraints in a project. And there can be questions in the examination based on constraints management. So these are some of the common constraints: scope, quality, schedule, budget, resources, risk, etc. Addresses the needs, wants, concerns, and expectations of the stakeholders. So let us talk about the constraints. We'll start with the triple constraints. Totally, there are 6 constraints. Let's start with the triple constraints: scope, time, and cost. Now we are mainly focused on the output. Later, we'll talk more about the outcome and the value. So scope is the work given to us. Time is the duration of the project, and cost is the budget of the project. Why these 3 are shown in a triangle? Sometimes they call it as an iron triangle. The reason is these 3 are interrelated, meaning changes in one of the constraints may impact other constraints. For example, if during the project, the scope of the project is increased. The customer is telling you to do additional work. That to do that additional work, you may need additional time. Time is equal to money. So that is going to increase the budget of the project. So this is about the, triple constraints and the relationship between them. So if you don't understand the relationship between them and you are managing the project, let's say you are a consultant or you are a contractor in that project, your client is asking you to do additional work and you're agreeing to do that without seeing what will be the impact on the time and cost, this can lead to scope creep in the project. What is scope creep? We'll talk about it in the next subject, that is scope management. But keep this terminology in mind, scope creep. We will discuss that in detail later. There can be questions around scope creep in the PMP examination. That's why it is shown as a triangle. Question. Sometimes the customer will ask you to do additional work, but they cannot give you additional time. Probably there is a constraint on time, like there is an event, FIFA 2022 Qatar. So maybe during the preparation, they realized we have to do something additional, but they cannot change the duration. The event has to be hosted on that date. And you are the project manager of this project. So scenario is here, you want to do additional work, but client cannot provide you or your customer cannot provide you additional time. How will you manage? Type in the chat box or unmute and tell me. So we know if you change the scope, there can be an impact on time or cost. One of the options how you can manage is you have to increase the resources, and that will in turn increase the cost of the project. So if you are increasing the scope, but you cannot change the duration, then you have to increase the resources that will in turn affect the cost. So the concept here is all of you are right, great, resources and cost. So the concept here is if you change one of the sides of this triangle, at least one other side will also impact, at least one other side, sometimes or many times both the sides. You need to understand that, and accordingly you have to manage. Again, it's not knowing about the scope, it's not knowing about the time or about the budget. It is about how you are managing the relationship between them. If there's a change in scope, how it is going to affect the time and cost, how I am going to manage that. Like we have seen here, we are going to get additional scope, how you are going to manage it without increasing the time. The fourth constraint is quality. Why quality is shown within the triangle? Quality is usually constrained by scope, time, and cost, or quality constraints scope, time, and cost. The customer is asking, I want the product in the shortest time, in the cheapest cost, and in the best quality. That doesn't match. You can provide any one of that. If you are reducing the duration of the project, it can also impact quality. You have to publish that or deliver that early. You may not have enough time to test. There will be bugs, defects. I'm sure all of you might have experienced this. You change the time, that affects quality, or reduce the duration, or you reduce the budget. You might want to remove some resources, test case, or quality team. That can also reduce the quality, or you change the scope. That can also, when you say it's not only decrease, it can also increase. If you increase the time, you have additional time, so you can do a proper work, test it properly, so you can increase the quality. So if the customer says, that's a scope, I'm going to give it to you. This is a time available. This is a budget available. You have to fix. This is the level of quality we can deliver in this particular constraint. The customer is not accepting that level of quality. Customer want an additional or more quality, then you need to see what additional work we have to do to get that quality, what additional time we need, what additional budget we need, so you can manage that quality. So those who are joining from the previous batches, you know the answer for this question, but just to recall and ensure like all new participants are on the same page, what is quality? Let's say two customers, A and B. Customer A is having 100,000 reals to buy a car. Customer B is having, let's say, 500,000 reals to buy a car. Type in the chat box. Who will get a high quality car? A is having a budget of 100K. B is having a budget of 500K. Both of them are going to buy a car. Who will get a high quality car? B. Okay, both. So, B. Okay. Depends on the requirement. Based on the requirement. Yeah. So, if you are saying B, what does that mean? You pay more and you get high quality? Not necessary. So, I will paraphrase the definition of quality according to ISO 9000 series. And that is a definition we are using in project management according to PMPOK guide also. Quality is, again, it's not the exact definition. We will talk about the definition later in our quality concept, quality class. Quality is how far your product, service, or result is meeting your customer requirements. I think all of you mentioned this. Depends on the requirement, based on requirement, customer requirement, etc. So, if you are delivering a product, service, or result which is meeting all the customer requirements, you are delivering a high quality product. For example, in this case, let's say customer A is a food delivery company like Talabat in Qatar. It depends on the location you are in. You'll have the various services, Talabat, Kita, or Zomato, depends. They are going to purchase a car. What will be their requirement? A fuel efficient car, compact car, right? So the maximum radius they are going to drive is maybe 50 kilometers, not more than that. And they have to navigate easily through the traffic, find a parking nearby the customer area. They are not going to buy a Lexus or a Land Cruiser 4x4. That's not going to meet their requirements. Very good. So they're not looking for luxury car. Then they're not going to get the operational benefit from that. So for them, with 100,000, they can buy a very good compact car, which is going to meet all their requirements and keep their driver safely to drive that car. Customer B is a different kind of customer. They are looking for luxurious product, probably because of their business requirements. Maybe this guy is a businessman, so he have to, he or she have to have that kind of a product to ensure that they are winning contracts or they are in that social circle. They have to go for a Lexus 4x4 or a Land Cruiser 4x4, which will cost around 500, or a Range Rover. They cannot go with I'm not going for any brand. I'm not saying like, XYZ brand, small car or low quality. I'm saying a luxury product is required for that customer. Then only they can socialize in their in their area and they can get business. Then they will go for that car. That is the quality. For them, the other compact car may be low quality product. The people judge them with the assets what they are having. You got the point, right? So the answer, most of you are right, or maybe all of you right now, you got the idea. Both of them can get a high quality car and also can get a low quality car. So luxury is not equal to quality, or less features product also not equal to quality. By paying 500,000, they can get a crap car, maybe some latest EV. You might have read it, like they paid a lot of money, but after purchasing there are software crashes, issues, problems, etc. Even they can get a low quality car. So quality is not only determined by the cost, how far it is meeting the customer requirements. More on that we'll discuss later. But obviously the difference, what product Mr. A and B are getting, the difference is in the grade. Customer B will get a high grade car, A will get a low grade car, but quality is high. But the point for the exam, for your project also, if you are in a project with a budget of 100,000, don't promise to give a quality of 500,000. You are starting a failure project because you gave a wrong expectation at the beginning and at the end you won't be able to meet. So understand the constraints and accordingly commit for the quality. Right, more on that we'll discuss in quality management. So hope that give an idea. I mean, it's simple. I'm buying a pen. I can buy a 2 reals pen if I'm going to take notes in my office. That is a high quality product for me, right? 2 reals pen perfectly will meet my requirements. But if I'm going to buy a pen to gift it to someone, 2 reals pen is a low quality pen. Maybe I have to go for a 200 reals pen. Then only that will be a quality product if it is going as a gift to one of my colleague or my manager. You see, it depends on the context what quality is. Great. Anybody having a different point of view? Type A. Yes, I have a different point of view. I want to discuss. Maybe for some of you, it's the first time you're seeing a bit of different definition for quality. Again, this is what you have to know for the PMP exam. They may confuse you with a context saying like you are having a luxurious product and so on. Don't misunderstand what they're talking is about quality. They're talking about grade. Nobody is having a different opinion, right? Okay, right. So these are the first four constraints: scope, time, cost, and quality. The last two are risk and resources. So normally I give a acronym S, S, C, Q, R, R for the examination purpose. They will not ask you what are the six constraints, but to answer a question, you have to recall this and see which constraint it is impacting, and accordingly you have to answer the question. So quality is equal to defect free. Um, Kind of, right? So one of the definitions for quality, according to Phillips B. Crosby, is zero defects practice. If you can give a zero defects product, that is a high quality. But there is also a definition from Joseph M. Juran, that's what Sherbin is saying. Quality is fitness for use. Okay, if the product is fit for purpose, then that is a good quality product. So these are all different schools of thought. We will come to that when we talk about, uh, quality management. Just to say, what do you mean defect-free? There is a definition. For example, if you say I'm in a construction project, I have to give a defect-free product in the first attempt itself. Probably will never finish that project, right? So there are NCRs, non-compliances, and there will be some targets. If you find any non-compliances, how you're going to fix it, etc. So, but if you are like in a for example, aircraft or flight monitoring, what they call is about that particular tower, there it has to be defect-free, 100%. Even 99.9 can result in one out of maybe few aircrafts. So aircraft monitoring has to be defect-free. But when it comes to construction, there can be defects. You have to find it and fix it. So there's a different schools of thought. So not always, Neetu. The answer is in some areas, yes, but in not all the areas. You have to manage. Depends on your resource. Depends on, that's what I told you. If you have less time, if you have less cost, defects free is a dream actually. It will be a dream, right? What is RFT, Sliman? Some acronyms maybe that's not in PMPOC guide, right? First time. That's what I'm saying. Not always actually. Can be, but not always. That depends on many factors, right? Great. Yeah. So yeah. So let's come back to the point. Okay, you got it, right? We will discuss more on that in quality management, by the way. If you can't give defect free, there is no other better way to give a good quality, but that may not be practical always. Right. Let's talk about the resources. So why I'm saying SSCQRR is just to recall during the exam. Just thinking, okay, what are the six constraints? If you remember this acronym, you can easily recall: scope, schedule, cost, quality, risk, resources. So project is constrained by this and you have to manage them. When you talk about resources for the PMP exam, we talk about two categories of resources. First is people resource. Second is physical resource. Apart from people, all other resources you're using are physical resources. Could be the materials you are using in the project, machines or equipments you are using in the project, depends on the project. All this will change, depends on the maybe the supplies you are using for the project, the hardware you are using for the project, software, access, infrastructure you are using. All these are physical resources. Resource availability could be a constraint. Quality of resources could be a constraint. Sometimes you have to use the existing resource in your organization. They may not have the required knowledge. That could be a constraint. Or this resource is shared between your project and departmental work. That could be a constraint. A lot of constraints. Even materials, maybe the availability of a supplier could be a constraint. Quantity requirement for your project could be a constraint. Or it has to come from international market. That could be a constraint. Current situation, what's happening in Middle East. Maybe you're not able to import those materials. That could be a constraint. So a lot of constraints can be there from the physical resources as well. So I just give a simple example to about people constraint and physical resource constraint. Risk, according to PMPOC guide and ISO 31000 standard, Risk is the effect of uncertainties on project objectives, but more on that we'll discuss later. So you have to know what risk you are taking in this particular project, right? The kind of risk you are taking in that project. And for example, you are going to work with a new supplier. You never worked in the past with the supplier and you don't have a track record, performance track record, probably they are new to the market. Comparing to working with a well-known supplier whom you have worked in the past in many projects, this is a risk you are taking. Again, don't think risk will also always give negative effect. Can be a positive effect. Maybe the new supplier, their price is less comparing to your traditional supplier. Maybe they'll give a better product. We don't know, but we are taking a risk. So we need to know and understand and manage that risk, for example. So these are the 6 constraints you have to manage, and changes in one of the constraints can impact the other constraint as well. So maybe there can be questions in the exam saying, okay, one of the stakeholders is requesting for, bringing the resources from outside the local market. They can work as a remote resource. Maybe it's a design project. They can be in another part of the world. They can do the design. The sponsor is looking for, a cost savings instead of bringing them to the country like Qatar, for example. You have to pay in this standard and so on, relocation cost. They can be in their location and contribute. So they're looking into that benefit. As a project manager, what else you have to look into? How will you manage it? These kind of questions will be there. You have to see the risk. What kind of risk we are taking? And is it going to affect maybe the timeline, maybe the budget? You need to look into that and accordingly how to manage. So here is a question for you. Again, you can scan that, or you can use the link in the chat box and see how you are. It's a simple question to tell you. Examination will not ask you for the definitions or the names or list the constraints. There will be no questions like that. Now you got the idea how you're going to apply it. That matters. In a project to develop a new medical device, management decides to reduce testing time to save cost. What is the most likely impact? So it's a general question. If you recall the discussion of or the constraints what we have seen, you can easily answer this question. Let's see what is the different answer. Reduced project scope. How we will take that decision. So it very, very, very clearly says reduce the testing time to save cost. We do it. Okay, we are not testing that much. We are going to deliver to the customer. What is the impact? There can be more number of defects, which is reduced quality, and customer can go and file a case in the court saying, I paid for this, but you gave me a poor product. So that is the risk for the company, risk for the project. So the right answer is A. Maybe if you say reduced project scope, the question doesn't say like there will be a reduction in scope. It's say reducing time to save cost. What time they are saying? Specific testing time, not like the time you develop the product, time you take to test the product. Anywhere in the PMP exam, they're talking about testing that is related to quality. That is going to increase or decrease, whatever it will impact the quality, increase or decrease the quality of the output. Great. So the last terminology before we start with the bit advanced concept is about progressive elaboration. Maybe all of you know about the concept, but the terminology could be new for you. So I'm seeing like maybe 50% of the participants, you are 60% of the participants, you're responding, others are not responding. Again, it's just for you to think, So try to respond. Even in the recording, when you're watching the recording, you can scan and you can pause the video, scan and try to respond and then see your answer is right or not. Just take it as a practice while you're watching the recording as well. Right. So what is progressive elaboration? It's a terminology you will frequently see in the PMP exam questions or in the answers. They will not ask you what is elaboration, but you have to know what is elaboration. Progressive means in a step-by-step manner. Elaboration means more details. When you talk about progressive elaboration, you have to understand about 2 aspects, the project and the product. Project basically is the work, right? So here is this is what I'm doing is the project. What I'm delivering is the product, right? So for example, let's take a construction project. When you talk about project, we are doing the design, we are doing the civil work, electrical work, mechanical work. This is all about project work. And what I'm delivering is that building, that is the product. Similarly, when you develop a software, the requirements gathering, designing, programming, testing, reviewing, etc. These are all project work. What you're delivering is your software. or the web page. That's a product. So project scope and product scope, both will be progressively elaborated. Let's take an example to understand what is progressive elaboration. Assume in that location, no building. The landlord took a decision to construct a building in that location. The day one, the landlord took a decision, I want a building in this location. They may not know exactly how the final building is going to look like. So it will be in a step-by-step process. Disclaimer, don't pick on the example. Maybe I'm not going to talk about all the steps, just focus on the concept. So first step is to decide, is it good to go for an office building or residential building in this location? Let's say decided office building. Next step is to decide, is it good to go for a high-rise building or a villa compound, say high-rise building. Next step is to decide how many levels are allowed in this location and how many we can consider. 25 levels decided. Next step could be working with a designer company to finalize the design of the building. The next step could be deciding in each level how many offices to provide. Next step could be in each office what facilities to provide. From this, the customer or the team will know, oh, this is what the final product is going to be. This process, what you followed from, I am going to construct a building in this location to, I will have a 25 stories building in this shape with these many offices in each floor, with these facilities in each office. That is progressive elaboration. This is about the product side, okay, how the output is going to be. Now, when you have high-level information about the product, you will have high-level information about your project. For example, in step one, you decided that we are going to step one or two, whatever. We will construct a 25-story office building in this location. What kind of information you will have for the project? Okay, the total duration could be 3 years. The budget could be 5 million. That's not like in detail what activity we will do, what kind of floor or tiles we will use for the floor. That kind of information we will not have at that stage. This is a concept stage. So you'll have the high-level information. As you are getting more and more details about the product, this side, the project work will be also detailed. When you know that this is my final product, you'll have a final plan, detailed plan. In construction, we call it as level 1 to level 5. Level 1 is high level, level 5 is detailed plan. This process of getting into level 5 detailed plan from a level 1 high level plan is also progressive elaboration. That's it. So as I told you, concept is known to all of us. Terminology could be new for you. There are some other related concepts like rolling wave planning, but we'll talk about that later. So progressive means in a step-by-step manner. Elaboration means you get into more details. Like at the beginning, you start with a concept. Then you go to a detailed preliminary design. Then you go to a detailed design. These are all progressive elaboration. Even you are developing a software, you will not actually go and say, hey, customer is coming to you for a software, mobile app or a website. You will not say, okay, here is the website. There also you'll discuss with them, understand the requirements, decide about the color scheming, about the number of pages. This is also progressive elaboration. Question. Progressive elaboration is required only for a project and its product. You don't want to do this elaboration for an ongoing operation. Why? Type in the chat box or admit and tell me. You got the question, right? What we discussed now about the step-by-step manner and getting into more details is required only for the project and its product. It is not required for operations. Why? You don't want to go and do this for an operation. We discussed about operation in the last class. It's ongoing activities, business as usual activities. Why? Don't worry. Is it a right answer, wrong answer? Type in the chat box. Let's see your point of view. Right. Same active. Yeah, close, very close. It's already defined, close. Think from the project perspective. Your answers are from the operations perspective. In fact, your answers are right. But think from the project perspective and see why. Maintenance. Maintenance is, another way to talk about the some of the operations. All maintenance, you can't say as operations. Even during maintenance, there can be projects. As we discussed in the last class, during maintenance, you are replacing the existing elevator with a new technology elevator. It is a project. Right. Anyway, because of time, we'll go with the answer. If you see, again, repetitive process is correct, but that routine is correct, but that is all from operations perspective. Think from project perspective. The answer is because projects product is unique. Something new you are delivering in a product. So it's not like, yeah. So in project, it's a new product. So you are going in a step-by-step manner. Why you are not doing it for operations? All your answers are right. Like, for example, a dairy company like Baladana. Every day they're not going to do a step-by-step process to decide what they're going to do today. It's the same thing what they're doing for the past many years. Just go and do it. You don't want to go for a step-by-step manner. You know what you're doing. It's repetitive, ongoing. All your answers are right. But from the project perspective, why you have to do it for project and its product? Because project's product are unique. Any questions? We are going to talk about a little more detailed concepts here. And this is actually the real business environment you are going to start. Again, those concepts are what you have to keep in mind. Almost like 1 hour we discussed about that. Now let's talk about business environment. If you don't have any questions in that concept, again, they are basics. So this helped for all of us to be in the same page. So when I say what is a project, when I say in my explanation or in a question, you see project management, operations, progress elaboration, constraints, you know that. What is it? I don't want to explain again. And when it comes to an exam question, it will be in your mind. Okay, this is what they're talking about. That's the purpose of that 1 hour discussion. Projects are not silo elements, right? It's not like, oh, we have some time. We are seeing some people are idle, or we have some money. Let's go and do a project. No organization will initiate a project like that. The team are idle, they'll engage them in an activity, not like start a new project. There is a specific reason for initiating projects. That comes from a big context. The context is here, vision, strategy, portfolio, program, and project. So project is one of the elements in that. This is actually the business environment we are talking about. We are going to that, in fact. Let's see that one by one quickly. You just want to have an understanding. And when you're answering questions, we discussed about the outcome value. It all depends on what you're seeing here. If it is output, it's only on the last element, project. I will deliver this. So, vision of an organization is a long-term goal of an organization. In next 5 years' time, 10 years' time, where this organization should be. If you close your eyes and imagine yourself like 5 years from now, and this company, how it has to be, that is vision, or 10 years. So let's take a simple example. Again, disclaimer, what I'm saying is not 100% right, the example. Let's say B site. They are putting a vision. By 2030, B site should be one of the top 10 management training providers in the Middle East, for example. That's a vision, goal. So 2030, they have to achieve this. Qatar as a country, UAE, Saudi Arabia, all they have visions. Qatar National Vision 2030, Saudi National Vision, UAE National Vision, all countries, they have a vision. So the direction of the country is decided by that vision, where the country has to be in next 10, 20 years. I think Qatar National Vision was put like 20 years back. So what is the vision of your organization? Do you know that? You have to, when we are working in an organization, we should know what is the direction of this company and how it is going to benefit my career goals. Check your company's website, intranet portal. You will see it in many places. In my organization, even in the meeting room, they have mentioned about the vision, mission, and everything. Again, this will be really, this is part of communication as well. That's not part for the examination. We know what is a vision. Now, we put a goal. Vision is the goal. 2030, B side should be one of the top 10 management training providers in the Middle East. It will happen by itself. Okay. We put a goal, so it will automatically happen. No, you need a plan. What you are going to do to achieve that vision? That is strategic plan. Long-term goal, a long-term plan to achieve the vision of the organization. So it is 2026 now. So what we are going to do in 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So by the end of 2030, we can achieve the goal. That is strategic plan, strategy for an organization. Again, this information will be also available in your company's website or internet portal. Okay, we put the goal. We put a plan, but you have to implement it, right? If you don't implement, again, plan is just a piece of paper there. To implement, you need portfolios. You implement the strategic plan through the portfolios. Portfolio, simply put, is a division, department of the organization. Let's say BSI decided in 2026, they will introduce project management training program. They introduced it a long time back. As I told you, just example. That's a plan as per the strategy. By the way, it will not only one goal. There will be multiple goals. The organization where I'm working, we have 12 strategic objectives for 2026 and beyond. 12, right? So there can be a number of objectives. So to implement these strategic objectives, they will establish one or more portfolios. Let's go with the example. Let's say one objective here is example, introducing project management training programs. So they'll establish a division or a department. In B side, say project management training division, and etc. etc. That is about a portfolio. Similarly, they'll have another portfolio for another strategic objective. So there will be number of divisions, departments. That's the organization's portfolio. So within the divisions or departments, portfolios, there will be programs and projects. What is a program? A program is a group of related projects. It's not a group of projects. It's a group of related projects. Let's say, that's a keyword for the examination. When they're talking about the program, you should know they're talking about a group of related projects, 2 or more related projects. Constructing a housing unit is a project. Developing an area with a number of housing units and other facilities will be a program. To develop that particular community or area, there will be a number of housing units, which will be individual projects. They have to construct road network, that will be another project. Construct drainage network, another project. Street light, another project. Maybe a school in that community is a project. Maybe a park in that community could be a project, and so on. But all of them are related to each other. A simple way to understand, in case they are deciding to increase the number of housing units in that location, in that community, it will impact all other projects. Maybe you have to go and check for the additional traffic coming from that additional housing units. Is this road design is enough, or we have to add one more lane? Is the capacity of the school enough, park enough, drainage capacity enough? It may impact other projects. That is what related means. They're not like standalone. They're all linked to each other. That is about a program. A program is a group of related projects. When it comes to portfolio here, it is not mandatory the projects and programs in a portfolio should be related to each other. It can be or it may not be. It depends. Like in the organization where I'm working, we have capital project management portfolio. Under that, we have a roads portfolio. We have a drainage portfolio. We have a building portfolio. We have landscaping portfolio. They're not much related to each other. There's some relation, but not much. It can be actually. Programs. So we know what a project is. Project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product. So that's the big picture of what we are going to learn in business environment. Before going to tell you the next important point, it is not mandatory a project has to be always part of a program, right? What if that's the only project you are having? There are no other related projects. Then project can be directly part of a portfolio, right? So a project can be either part of a program or it can be part of a portfolio. So projects will be part of a program or portfolio. Portfolios are established to implement the strategic plan, strategic objectives of the organization. Strategic plan is put together to achieve the goal or vision of the organization. In other words, projects are implemented as per the strategic plan to achieve the vision of the organization. I mentioned at the beginning, no organization will start a project because they have some idle people or resources. Only if it is fit to the organization's strategy, organization's vision, they will initiate a project. So you have to know the project, what you are in, how it is fitting or supporting my organization's vision. The project manager should know that. That's why 8 percentage of questions in the examination are about business environment. A good percentage of that, not all, there are more in the business environment you will have related to these concepts you are seeing. In fact, this concept is known as OPM. OPM stands for Organizational Project Management. What you're seeing here is Organizational Project Management, right? Let's see the definition of program and portfolio according to PMP guide. A portfolio is a centralized management of one or more groupings of projects, programs, subsidiary portfolios, and operations to achieve strategic objectives. So portfolios are established to achieve the strategic objectives, and it will have programs and projects. So it doesn't say related projects and programs. No, any kind of projects to support the vision of the company or to achieve the vision of the company. On the other hand, a program, it clearly says, is a group of related projects managed in a coordinated way to obtain benefits and control not available from managing them individually. It is always better or advisable to manage related projects as a program. One of the benefits is economies of scale. Second, improved decision making. Third, reduction in overall duration. Let's say, under the road network, there are a lot of service lines. Whatever, XYZ country. I'm not specifically mentioning about Qatar or UAE or Saudi Arabia or any country in general. Sunday or Monday morning, first day of the week, you are driving and you're seeing like PWD laid a new pavement, new asphalt, smooth, good road. You're happy. Within a week, you will see maybe the water authority will come and dig one of that location and they will do some maintenance in that area. It will go on for weeks. They will fill that area. Another 1 or 2 weeks, it will be good. Then you will see the drainage guys will dig the same location and they will do some maintenance work. Then the electricity guys will do some maintenance work. Then another authority. Around the year, somebody will be doing maintenance in that area. Any experience? Now the question is, they're all related projects. Why can't we, manage that as a program? Like we are opening that particular piece of road or whatever location and coordinating with all the authorities. Whatever maintenance you are having, do it at one time. Water or drainage or electricity or whatever it is, the telecommunications line, etc. And we are going to close it unless it is an emergency. Next 1 year, nobody should touch that location. A simple example to understand how related projects can be benefit, or if you manage related projects as a program, how it can benefit. Even ERP implementation for an organization. We talk about a software development project. Individual departments is a project, but overall it's a program. So you will not say, okay, ERP for finance, project 1, ERP for, IT project 2, ERP for business, project 3. It will be one program, but related projects. One company will be managing it. There are a lot of benefits in that. That's about the, relationship between OPM elements, organizational project management elements. This is called internal business environment. What you're seeing here is internal business environment. Here is another, look into this vision. Okay, before going to this, is it the responsibility of the project manager to manage everything you see in this figure? No. A project manager is responsible to manage the given project, but to deliver that project successfully, to understand the outcomes and the value as we discussed, strategic values. Project manager should be understanding this link. Then only he can deliver value for the organization. Otherwise, only you can deliver the outputs, not even the outcomes sometimes. So a project manager is responsible to manage that particular project. There will be a program manager responsible to manage a program. There will be a portfolio manager or divisional head or director to manage the portfolios. Vision and strategy are managed by C-level employees such as CEO, CFO, COO, and the board of directors. So the top sets the vision, strategy, direction, and the remaining part of the organization, we follow that. Usually, the vision of an organization will not change. unless there is a major reason or something wrong in that vision they set, yes, usually they don't change. But strategy can change. Strategy is a plan. Any plan can change, right? So I was working in a strategy team for project management side or strategic initiative side for almost 8 years before moved into PMO, like around 10 years back. End of the year, we conduct strategic review meetings to see how or what is the progress in the plan for that year. And then decide, is there any change we have to make in the plan for the future years? You can't say like, we'll put a plan, we'll implement, go on. After 5-10 years, we will see whether we achieved it. Every year they will check. End of the year, you may know, oh, everything is working perfectly. This plan is good. Let's continue. Then perfect. But most of the time, it won't be like that. There will be some changes. We are not able to implement according to the plan, or there is a need to update the plan. We have to add some additional strategic objectives, etc. Change in the existing objectives. Strategy may change. Vision may not. Like even during the economic crisis around 2010, the oil price was going down. Most of the organizations, countries based on oil economy, they haven't changed their vision, but they changed their strategy. The organizations became lean, but still the vision same. If there is a change in strategy, right, everything down the line can change. Because of the updated strategy, we may establish a new portfolio, one or more new portfolios, and that will have its own programs and projects. Or two existing portfolios, you may combine and say hereafter to be a single portfolio. Or even we may release or we may remove one or more portfolios saying that's not performing well. We are no longer going to have that portfolio in the organization. If it is a business improvement project, halfway through the project is stopped. The most common reason is strategy of the organization already got changed. For the updated strategy, your project doesn't add a value. So they killed your project or stopped your project. One of the reasons, by the way. Right. One of the important points here, this is all important to keep in mind when you are thinking about the business environment. What do you mean by value? How I am fit, my project is fit to that organizational environment. So, question. A decision will be made that we have to do this project, right? We are going to do this project. Who makes the decision that this project is a go project or we are going to stop this project? Type A, if you think somebody managing the strategy, the CEO, CFO or board of directors, they will decide. Or B, portfolio manager and their team will decide what projects we are going to do. C, program manager will decide. D, project manager will decide. Or B, what project we are going to do, what project we are not going to do in this particular organization. What do you think? A, strategy team. B, portfolio team. So most of you are saying strategy team will make that decision. Some of you are saying the portfolio team, portfolio manager will make the decision. The right answer is portfolio manager. So that is a key, that's an examination point. I mean, they may not ask you, but you have to keep in mind to answer the questions in the exam. Decision of what project to do, what project not to do is the responsibility of the portfolio manager. So you need to know program and project are the implementation side. That's where the real action is happening. It's actually in program, the action is happening. Program, it's coordination between various projects. Decision making is portfolio and above. Here they only put the strategy. This year, what's the strategic objective? And to achieve that strategic objective, what my department should do, it is the department manager, it is the divisional managers. So if they are saying, for example, it's a for-profit company, we have to increase the revenue of the company by 10% in the next financial year. That's a strategic objective. And there are like 4 or 5 portfolios, and they're saying, okay, 3% of revenue improvement I should get from your portfolio. Assume you are the portfolio manager. Then you, as a portfolio manager, is going to make a decision what I'm going to, obviously, it may be reviewed and approved by the strategic team, but they will not in 99% of cases, they'll not tell you what project to do. That's you, portfolio manager, going with the proposal and justification. Yes, we are going to do this project. This will help us to increase the revenue by 3%. That is a strategic objective. Approve it. Right? So, decision to initiate, do a project or stop a project even is taken by portfolio manager. Right. So that's an important point. That's an important point. Who makes the decision to do a particular project? So we know vision is the goal. We'll come back to mission. That's minor. Organizational strategy and objectives, that is strategic plan. Portfolio management is strategic planning and management of projects, programs, and operations. So strategic planning, like what I have to do to achieve the strategy. Management of authorized programs and projects, right? That's where the activity, this is where action is happening. Increasing the value production capacity. Management of ongoing operations will be producing value, recurring activities. And the organizational resources will be shared between projects, programs, operations, etc. What is mission? Mission is like why you are going to the office. Today I woke up and I want to go to the office. What I'm supposed, it's a mission. Day-to-day work, which always support your, vision as well as, the strategy and vision and so on. Mission is like day-to-day thing. Vision is long-term, right? We should not only focus on the vision, we should know the mission also, what mission we are on. That's minor. Now we have two terminologies here. Projects and programs will increase the value production capacity, whereas operations will produce value. This is very important. You need to have this understanding. It's simple, but you need to know the differentiation. Let's go back to the example. At the strategic level, they took a decision. We have to increase the revenue of the company by 10%. In that, let's say 3% is assigned to your portfolio. And your portfolio manager, obviously, they will have advisor team and so on. Nobody will make a decision on their own. They can, but it will be highly difficult, one person making a decision and following that. So there will be a team discussing, brainstorming, and coming up with a decision. Okay, let's introduce a new product. And this new product will help us to increase the revenue of our portfolio by 3%. So we can achieve the target. So now they will create or they will initiate a project to produce this new product. We have 12 months time. Okay, assume this is month 1, this is month 12, whatever, January to December or March to February, whatever it is. So what is the expected value we are seeing here is increase the revenue of our portfolio by 3%. So we can achieve the target. So what to do? In 6 months time or whatever, let's say 6 months time, we're going to deliver a new product. And this product, by marketing, selling, it is going to help us to increase the revenue. You have been appointed as a project manager to deliver this product. So what's your project? Project is to deliver the product in 6 months time, which will help the organization to increase the revenue by 3%. Now, what you are doing as a project manager is delivering this product. As soon as you deliver the product, are they achieving the 3% increase in their revenue? No. So you are giving something by which they can produce value. So you are increasing the value production capacity. You have to know why I am doing it, why I am in this project. Output is what you deliver. I want to know the outcome and the benefit. So accordingly, we can discuss about the scope, we can make decisions and so on. Where actually the actual value is produced is during the operation. Next 6 months, the operations team will go out for a marketing campaign, for sales, reaching the client, selling it, and making money. In this example, making money is value. Depends on the project, it will change. So they will, if they do everything fine, if the product you delivered is supporting them to deliver the value, they will achieve the value. So that's what you see here. At the end of the project, you may not be delivering the full value. Your main objective in a project as a project manager is to understand how your product or what value is expected from your product, how I can deliver it effectively. So next 6 months, when they are going to produce value with my product, they will not come back and tell me you did a poor job, the product we delivered is not helping us to deliver achieve the value. So we, as project managers, increase the value production capacity. The operations team will be producing value. This understanding is very important. The difference in role. In many projects, you are not delivering value. You are, see, what do you mean by delivering value? If the product, what you are delivering is helping the organization to increase the value production capacity, you're delivering value, right? It can be like, you can think in very simply, what is value? I have a secretary in my office. When I'm assigning a job, if she is doing it error-free, on time, and that is helping me to do my work effectively, she's delivering value. Any role you are in, anything you are doing, as long as the work, what you are doing is effective, and that is helping the organization, you are delivering value. If this training is going to help you to pass your PMP examination, this training is delivering value. So what for us delivering value means this one. Ensuring we give the right product, service, or result that will help the organization to achieve that strategic objective or operations to achieve the value objective. Great. So, any questions on that? This part I'll skip for time being. We'll talk about that in people side. OKR is not that important. OKR stands for objectives and key results. It's mainly for agile projects, right? So in agile project, it's a lightweight methodology. Later today, we will talk about agile in detail or in high level, not very detailed, high level. So they are going for lightweight. They will not go through various things what we are discussing here. It will be like objectives and key results. And yes, they will also have the vision, mission, values, and so on. But the way how they do it is a bit different. They have value and everything. This is a quick summary of what we discussed so far about portfolio management, program management, and project management. I think at this time, it's clear for all of you. Portfolio management. Portfolio is the collection of projects, programs, subsidiary portfolios, and operations managed in a group to achieve strategic objectives. So anything they're saying is linked to the strategic objectives, that's portfolio. Aligns with the business strategy. Program management. Group of related projects. We already seen this benefit you will get. Control components and interdependencies of the related projects to realize benefits we discussed. Project is a part of broader program portfolio or both. I told you, project can be part of a program or part of a portfolio. It enables achievement of organizational goals and objectives. That's where we are increasing the value production capacity. So this is what I was mentioning, OPM, Organizational Process Asset. Organizational Process Asset. So this is what, we have seen as an extension of the definition for project management, system for value delivery. We have various portfolios, portfolio A, portfolio B, various divisions or departments in the organization. Within a portfolio, you are having a number of programs. Within a program, you are having number of related projects. These are related projects. In portfolio B, they're also having a program, but they have individual projects as well. As I told you, it is not mandatory. A project has to be always part of a program. As you can see here, these projects are part of a program. These projects are part of a portfolio. They are not related to each other. If I'm working in two different projects, can I say I'm in a program? Not mandatory. If there is any interrelationship between them, then I'm in a program, or else I'm in two individual projects. Sometimes the programs and projects can be directly under the strategy team, the pet project of CEO, for example. So it's not mandatory. A program and project has to be part of a portfolio. As you can see, this program and these projects are not part of any portfolio. They're directly under the strategy team. Maybe some continuous improvement program. So it is applicable for all the portfolios in the organization. That will be part of strategy team. That's what you are seeing here. Even projects can be part of. So the project can be part of a program, part of a portfolio, or part of the strategy team. Right. And this is the internal business environment we have seen within the organization. We'll discuss more on that. There is also external environment. This is what the business environment, 8% of questions in the examination will be from this figure. And operations, I told you it's linked, like whatever work you are doing. Every organization, they have their own organizations. We'll discuss more on this about external and internal environment, after practicing a question. So I launch a poll. Let's see you are able to, answer them or not. Right. You are managing a collection of initiatives, including projects, programs, and ongoing operations to achieve the long-term strategic objectives of the organization. So, looks like there is a confusion. One of you mentioned project manager. That is the role of a project manager. 75% have mentioned portfolio manager, and 4 of you mentioned program manager. So, when you talk about a project manager in a project, first thing to know, we don't have operations. If they say operations, that is not a project. So project excludes operation. Keep that in mind. Project excludes operation. They're talking about projects, programs, initiatives, operations, and the keyword is strategic objectives of your organization. What is related to the organization strategies? Portfolio. So if you are managing projects, programs, operations, and everything, you are a portfolio manager. Next question. You are managing the construction of a new company headquarters building. 95% of you mentioned project manager. They are saying construction of a new building. Very simple. They're not saying related projects. Nothing about that. So most of you answered it correctly. You are managing multiple related projects. Already you have the keyword in the exam, in the question itself. Multiple related projects, such as whatever. So that is enough to answer the question. Multiple related projects means you are a program manager. Portfolio manager is like there will be programs, there will be projects, there will be operations, etc. So the right answer is program manager. Multiple related projects. Your company manufactures consumer electronics. Your daily responsibilities include. Daily responsibilities means day-to-day work. Simple operations. Whatever it is after that is an example. So these are the keywords to find the right answer. And 60% I mentioned operations manager. It's not a project manager, not a program manager. Like a project or program manager is going to focus on strategic initiatives, projects like objectives and so on, not day-to-day operations. Right. Hope it's clear. That's all about, the idea about business environment. Next part, we're going to discuss about influences. What can influence a project, where we have 2 parts. One is EEF, enterprise environmental factors. Another one is OPA, organizational process assets. So what we will do, we'll go for a short break and come. The next concept we are discussing is about EEF and OPA. As you can see from the terminology, one of them is a fact or a factor. You can't change it. You have to work around and you have to manage your work accordingly. The first one. The second one is an asset. If it is an asset, you have to make use of that for your project, right? So let's start with program manager. Follow the operation also, or multiple project only. No, in a program, you can have operations actually. For example, see, I was actually involved in a major program. That was my first assigned work in Qatar when I came here in 2007. If you talk about this is a project, project 2, project, whatever it is, say there are 4 related projects and you have a program here. So we have a program management team, program manager and team. They are not actually doing the work. Actual work is done by this project manager and their team. Project manager 1, 2 and the team. So project is where the real implementation is happening. What is the responsibility of the program manager and the team is more of coordination. So they coordinate between the projects. So there will be some regular operations, happening in the program management team. Yes. So it's not about, when you talk about operations, you have to look into 2 ways actually. One, assume this is a construction project At the end of this construction project, you deliver a building or product, you have to do some operations. This is product-based operations, right? Or it's a software development project. After delivering that product, you have some operations to do, like bug fixing or other things and so on you have to do. But during the project, during the coordination, you have to do some operations here. Maybe it will be secretarial work, it could be reporting, repeated things happening. This is not product-based operations, this is work-based operations. Like in your office, if you're having a secretary, most probably what he is doing is operations. So that kind of operations we'll be having at the program manager level. Is that clear, Mr. Prim? Right. So let's talk about EEF, the first influencing factor. It can be internal or external. So you need to know EEF means non-project factors within the organization or outside the organization that can influence your project, that can have an influence on your project are EEF, non-project factors. Internal means within the organization, external means outside the organization. As I told you, it's a fact or fact. Let's take outside the organization. Assume you are in a construction project. The weather conditions, what you have is a non-project factor outside the organization. It's a fact. It's a rainy day, windy day, or it's sunny day. You can't change that. It's a fact. What you can do as a project manager is, from your past experience, know this season is summer in Middle East, so I have to schedule my work accordingly. You cannot change it, but you can work around. Okay, this season I can do this kind of work. So we have a portfolio landscaping. When I look into their plan as a PMO lead, we will see some of their activities are like planting. There is a planting season. They cannot change it. That's when they schedule their planting activities. Apart from that, what they do is design and so on. This is due to the weather conditions, for example. That is an example. I think you got the idea, right? What is a non-project factor outside the organization that can impact your project? Likewise, you can have exchange rates. Say you are procuring materials in a foreign currency, and exchange rates can save you money, or we may lose money. So that also you cannot control. So that's why in some organizations, especially foreign, if you are in a multinational company, they don't put the salary on the same day every month. So they will wait for a favorable exchange rate and they transfer the salary. The organization may save something. Maybe some of you are working in a multinational company. One of the reasons why you may not get the salary on the same day every month is this exchange rate. Similarly, your payments, you might change the date of payment due to the exchange rate. This is just to tell you what do you mean by external factors, non-project factors outside the organization. In fact, the whole world is an external factor. There are many factors, like the current situation in the Middle East is having impact in your project. Maybe a project happening in Asia or another continent. They may have, obviously they are also having impact. Maybe some of the materials are going from here, etc. So the whole world, in fact, in a way or other, is a factor for your project, and you have to understand that and manage it accordingly, right? You cannot change it. Now, what are the internal factors within the organization? Like my organization structure is within the organization. Decision-making authority. In some organizations, project manager will be authorized to approve up to 50,000 reals worth of spending. In some other projects, it has to, even 1 real, it has to go to CFO level, Chief Financial Officer, to further approval. This is your internal operating way. That can have a positive. Again, these influences can be positive or negative, by the way. So that is an internal factor. Your organization's working culture, the infrastructure, what you're having in the organization. I want to get 3 more people for my project, but I don't have offices for them, for example, or I have plenty of offices I can bring. So it can be positive or negative influence. This is internal factor, right? The systems, what you're having, etc., are your internal factors. So internal and external to the organization. So you got an idea. We will see more on that. So let's see the explanation according to PMP guide. What is internal and external or enterprise environmental factors? Enterprise means internal, environmental means external. Conditions outside the immediate control of the team or project manager and that influence, constrain, or direct the project, program, or portfolio. Again, most of the concepts what we are learning are applicable for project, program, and portfolio. There will be project EEF, program EEF, portfolio EEF. But our focus for the PMP examination is only on project. When you go to PGMP training, program management, they will talk more about EEF for a program. Or PFMP, portfolio management training, you will go learn more about portfolio related details. That's about EEF. Now, next one is OPA, organizational process assets. They're only internal. It's an asset. Again, in my organization, we have like 200 computers. That is an asset, but not a process asset. What we are seeing here is process asset. You can classify into two major categories: processes, policies, and procedures, and corporate knowledge base. The processes, what you're having, procedures, what you're having, policies, what you're having, standard operating procedures, for example. These are all your assets. You have to make use of that. The corporate knowledge base or lessons learned information, what you are having. Say I'm in this project from the beginning. Somebody new joined the project. I'm representing a client. This person got the first invoice from the contractor and asking me, help me to process this invoice. I'm pointing them to this process and telling them, follow the process. If you have any questions, I can support you. 95% of the information what they want to know will be in the process, including the steps to follow, template to use, etc. It's well defined. That's an asset. The process what you have. It's creating a uniformity in the organization or in the project. Everyone, they follow the same process. The standard operating procedures you're having, the quality management policies you're having, risk management policies you're having, these are all your assets. Make use of that for your project. Even the quality management plan, what you're developing for your project will be from the quality, will be a kind of a cascade or a derivation of your quality policy of the organization. They are your assets. Side one. Side two, I'm starting a new project. I know in the past, a similar project has been managed. Don't reinvent the wheel. Go and check the successes and failures they had in the project, what decisions they made, where changes happened, where they failed, where they succeeded. Successes, incorporate in your project. Failures, see how you can avoid. That is about corporate knowledge base. More on that we'll discuss later. So that is about, you got the meaning of process asset. It's not your computers, your systems, your printers, laptop. It's about the policies, processes, procedures, methodologies, corporate knowledge base, etc. So they are internal to the organization. Refers to all implicit input or assets on processes used by an organization in operating a business. That can be business plans, processes, policies, protocols, knowledge, etc. So in fact, that's what you are seeing here. Internal environment and external environment. That is about EEF. OPA is general. That is your asset. You are making use of that. So this part is what I explained here as internal and external environment. Right. How to know your external business environment? There are some frameworks you can use, such as PESTEL, TCOP, VUCA, and more. You don't want to know about all these for the PMP exam. Yes, regarding PESTEL, TCOP, and VUCA, we'll learn a little bit more in risk management. In a high level, PESTEL stands for, P stands for political, E economic, S socio-cultural, T technical, L legal, E environmental. These are all like outside the project. What current kind of political environment you are in, like current scenario in Middle East is a very good example. That is having impact on your project. Non-project factor, outside the organization, external business environment. Economic, oil price is changing and the whole world is getting impacted. Something beyond the control of the project manager. You have to either make decisions accordingly. We are not going into the details. So socio-cultural, what kind of technical environment you are in. Say you want to use Microsoft project, but organization says no, we have Primavera, we'll go and use it. Or the cloud systems, what they are having, you don't have a control. It's there. That's the thing. You have to make use of it, legal or environmental, etc. For example. So you don't want to know in detail, but VUCA is very important. Volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguity, but I'll keep it for the risk management discussion. As you can see, political is outside the organization, outside the project. Economical is outside the organization, outside the project. So this is all how it will impact your project. I mean, we will talk about PMO a little bit later. There I'll explain a little bit more because you are not alone as a project manager to do the PESTEL analysis. There will be PMO supporting you. We'll talk about that later. And there are more like SWOT analysis, feasibility studies not required for the PMP exam. They are outside the syllabus, but there are ways how you can understand the external business environment. Internal business environment, that's what we discussed about the vision, strategy, portfolio, program. That is internal business environment. Organizations may make changes within the organization chart may change, your reporting authority may change, their portfolios may change. So organizational changes can dramatically impact scope. So project manager, sponsor, product owner, we'll talk about product owner a little bit later, that is from the agile part, need to be familiar with business plans. What's the next 1 year look ahead in this organization? What's the business plan? Reorganizations, change in portfolios, or your company will be acquired by another company, or another company, your company will be acquiring another company. All these you have to understand as a project manager. Process changes and other internal activities. Because of these changes, you may need some additional deliverables in your project. The scope may change. Or some of the existing deliverables, they say, scope reduced, remove. Or in agile project, priority of what you're doing now can change. We'll talk about prioritization a little bit later. That's about EEF and OPA. Question. Type A in the chat box if you think that is an EEF, sorry, EEF, yes. Type B in the chat box if you think that is an OPA, A or B. So you are using Primavera or Microsoft Project to manage the schedule of your project. That software what you're using, is it an EEF or OPA? Type A if you think that's an EEF. Type B if you think that's an OPA. Some of you are saying B, some of you are saying A, EEF. Okay. All the commercially available software you are using are EEF, Enterprise Fundamental Factors. That's not your asset. Microsoft Project is from Microsoft. Primavera is from Oracle. If they are changing the licensing policy, you can't say, no, this is my asset. No, this is A, not B, A, EEF. What is your asset is, you have developed a scheduling methodology to follow. When you are developing a schedule, whatever software you are following, this is my methodology to develop a schedule, that's your asset. But the software is not your asset. I mean, if it is internally developed by your organization, that's different. But external commercial software you're using, Microsoft Office, it's not your asset. You're using, it's not a process asset, by the way. You're just using, so it's an EEF. Next question. You are following ISO 9001 for quality management. ISO 9001 standards for quality management. All the standards you are following, are they EEF or OPA? A, B, A, right? So mix of answers. Again, this is usual, but these examples are make you understand the concept. Again, the answer is A. This is EEF. All the standards you're using, again, is not your asset. If you have developed a quality management system based on ISO 9001, that's your asset. Quality management system is internal, your asset. But the standard is coming from ISO. Like in Qatar, we have QCS. If you are doing construction in Qatar, you have to follow Qatar construction specification. That's not your asset. It's an EEF. Like recently, not recent, the previous version of ISO 9000, they removed preventive action and they replaced it with risk management. Any organization going for recertification should have risk management practices. So that's an EEF as well, not your asset. So you got the idea, right? Let's see some examples for the, EEF. Resource capabilities. It's all anything outside the immediate control of the project manager is EEF. I told you, whether you have a full-time team or part-time team, not your responsibility. I mean, not in your organization culture we discussed. IT software we discussed. Distribution of facilities. You are in a multinational company. You're working with teams from different countries. So this is internal. External, marketplace conditions. We have seen that material prices increasing, decreasing. You may not have any control on that. Laws, regulation, standards. I told you about ISO 9001 QCS. Operating conditions, social, cultural influences, like the project what you're doing in Middle East. If you're doing it in another country, the way how you're going to manage will be different because of the social and cultural influences. Every country, every region, they have their own culture. And as a project manager, we have to follow the culture of that region or country we are in. When you are in Rome, be a Roman. That's simple. And OPA, processes, policies, and procedures. Example, organization charts, procurement rules, right? Hiring and onboarding procedures. These are all your assets. Knowledge base, engineering wikis, libraries, lessons learned repositories, historical information, all these are your knowledge bases. So these are your OPAs, organizational process assets. Sorry, when I explained, I told organizational chart as EEF. No, organization. What I told as EEF is the culture of your organization, not the chart. Organization chart is how you report, you create a reporting structure. So it's obviously your asset, the way how you report to others in your organization. Right. So why it is like this? Okay. Scan or use the link in the chat box to answer this question. I think this is simple. All of you will be answering it correctly. The relationship between what differentiates EEF and OPA. You have the link in the chat box. If you are having an additional device, please scan and come on, answer. And EEF are outside the organization's control, while OPAs can be updated or improved. Great. No, so this is what, like, see at the beginning, library, where you have the example, you have seen that, right? Okay. A is wrong. B, no, we haven't discussed what PMAS, PMO8. Okay. No explanation required. Let's go back to what Mr. Silverio is asking. Libraries or archives. So what do you mean by this is, many organizations or some organizations, depends on the type of the organization we are in. There are different types of industries, right? So if it is about project management, for example, in our organization, we have a library. The major project management related materials, books, research papers, etc., they are kept it in the library. So when there is a free time or you want to learn something about a design uh, which you are developing for this project, you can go to the library and take the related material. You can review and you can find some information and so on. So nowadays it's all digital library. Most of the organization, they are using digital library. So in the past, it is like a physical hard copy of these documents. That is a simple example for library or archives in the organization. That is an asset. You are getting knowledge that is within the organization. You are getting the asset, the knowledge, and you are using it for your project. Clear? Not necessary to be. These are all like, yes, maybe it is coming from internal. Archives obviously coming from internal. Libraries can be research papers you're getting from your members. It depends on the type of the organization you're getting from the organization team or from the project team. So that's like coming from internal. Yes, most of them are internal. But in our library, we are having external also. Yeah, you have a point. It's coming, like we have PMP guide in our library. We have some materials I have shown as a reference for PMP exam. We have in our library. So yes, here it's mainly from internally developed. Let me have a look at that as well, right? About the libraries or archives. But in our library, we have a lot of materials, something developed by the previous project team, internal research, even external documents we are having. Right. So with that, we are done with the first part of our training. Now we are going to the second part of our training. Before going to the second part, you need to know, this is another important point, which we'll touch base later in organizational change management. Projects are the one that is going to bring change. Anyway, personally, in our career improvement or personal life, or professionally for an organization or for a country, etc. Let's say 10 years back or 15 years back, how Qatar was, let's say in the infrastructure, what we are having now, and currently how Qatar is, or what Saudi is doing now, what UAE have done also in the past. The changes what you are seeing are mainly because of the projects and major programs undertaken by these countries. So to bring that change, they have done a lot of projects. So x-axis here is time, y-axis is business value. Let's say current state is today. Let's talk about a personal project here. No PMP. If you continue doing what you were doing till this Friday, last Friday, Saturday we classes started the class. Let's say by June end, it will be the same. No PMP. So that means you are doing the regular things. That is operation. I mean, I'm just connecting it to the concept. Every day morning we are going to office, come back, family, and so on. It's a regular things, regular things. If you continue doing the operation, there will be no improvement. It will be normally maintaining the status quo. But you decided, no, before June, this is, let's say, June in time, we access business. I should have PM. I should see myself as a PMP certified person before end of June. That is your future state. If you continue doing your operation, you are not going to achieve that. You are doing something different, which is the project. You are attending the classes for 3 hours. You are going to practice questions. Oh, by the way, LMS is almost getting ready. We already requested to the provider. And, by tomorrow, most or all of you should be able to get the access. So you can start practicing questions from tomorrow. Where are we? Coming back to, so you are attending that class, practicing questions and taking mock exam, booking and these are all like activities you are doing, which is different than your regular day-to-day activities to achieve the objective. That is a project. So a project is going to bring a change. The project is the only one going to bring a change, personally or professionally or organization-wide or country-wide or region-wide or worldwide. They talk about anything, any change. That is because of projects and programs undertaken by that entity. So what is the responsibility of the project manager? You are the project manager responsible to manage that project. You have to know what change your project is driving. What change your project is driving, right? So from the current state to the future state, you should know. And that also will, see, these are the important things a project manager should keep inside his or her head to make right decisions. Let's take an example to understand why change management, organizational change management is important. This is about a software development project for an organization. This project manager was so happy to see the high quality of the product they delivered. Okay, no bugs in that software. Graphical user interface is very good, easy to work. All the features, more than what he thought is there in the product. They are so happy at the end to launch a technically sophisticated product. 3 months later, when they are seeing, I think I mentioned about this earlier, similar example, only 20% of the organization team they are using, 80% they are not using. What went wrong here? What do you think? Type in the chat box. You got that scenario, right? A technically superior product delivered as a project team, but adoption in the organization is very low. 20% or less is using. Others are not even, they even don't know that there is a software like this in the organization. I'm sure some of you might have been in a similar scenario. What happened in this scenario is the project manager failed in change management. Okay, the one side is output. Output is good, but what about the outcome and value? In my organization, when they are coming up with a new software, at the beginning, they will come up with like a poster that creates a curiosity. Okay, we are coming up with something new, which is going to benefit you. Then a month later, another poster, another email. This will build up on that curiosity. Oh, something new is coming. Then they will announce, okay, this is the project, this is the product. They will arrange training, they'll arrange meetings, discussions, debates, and so on. So before launching, almost everyone in the organization will know there is a product coming and there is a benefit and this is a technology they are using, etc., etc. And everybody waiting for that. Actually, okay, let me start using it. That is also part of project management, and that is also part of business environment. There will be questions related to this change management. This is not project change management. What is project change management? I have a scope or a timeline and there is a delay. I need more time. You have to request for the change. This is project change management, right? So that is different. We'll talk about this. Is organizational change management, bringing the organization ready to accept my product, the output, what I am delivering, which is this is actually in the scope of the project manager, that change management activities. Maybe many of you are not aware about this. You have to know this is in the scope of the project for the project manager. That's what you are seeing here. Understand what future state this project is going to bring and equip your team, equip your stakeholders to accept that particular change. That's the end of lesson 1, business environment basics and so on. Now we are moving to lesson 2, that is starting the project. I think this is the right time for us to learn about the syllabus for the PMP exam, and it's very important to know about the context we are in. By the way, any other questions? Any other questions? So let's discuss about the syllabus for the PMP exam. It is available in our LMS, or you can go to Google and you can search for PMP exam content outline, and you will see that here, project management professional examination content outline. I just put it as PMP ECO. Ensure what you're seeing is 2021 version. Okay. I will reduce the zoom a little bit. Yes, this is the January 2021 version. If you want, I can show PMP ECO July 2026 also. Yeah, this is the new one. Okay, already there is the new syllabus also, July 2026. But again, I'm not going to confuse you. So I'm telling you, for those who are, all of you should take the exam before July. So for you, it will be January 2021. So hope you can all see this. This was published in January 2021, more than 6 years now. So you can review this in detail. I'll go to the key points. We discussed about this in the last class. In the examination, it will be tested in 3 domains: people, 42%, process, 50%, business environment, 8%. Almost like 5 to 6% out of 8% we discussed in today's class. There are more, we'll talk about that later. Now we are going to start with the other domains. Now within this domain, what you want to learn for the examination, that's a blueprint for the PMP exam. If I go down within a domain, for example, people domain, we have something called tasks. Task 1 is managing conflict. Task 2 is leading a team, and so on. So under people domain, there are 14 tasks. People domain, there are 14 tasks. Next, process. So 42% of questions in the examination related to people domain will be from these 14 tasks. Next, process domain, 50% of questions. For that, we are having 17 tasks. That 50% of questions will be from 17 tasks. Finally, business environment, 8% of questions, that is coming from 4 tasks. Okay, 4 tasks. So this is what I was just mentioning about supporting organizational change from the current state to the future state. What we discussed is about evaluate and address external business environment changes for impact on scope. We briefly discussed about that. Again, complaints we haven't discussed. Benefits and value we briefly discussed. So whatever we discussed is as per the syllabus. In a way or other, it is going to help you to answer questions in the examination. Now, within the task, there are some bullet points, right? Let me go to people domain. First one, manage conflict. We have 3 bullet points. Interpret the source and stage of the conflict, analyze the context, evaluate, recommend, reconcile the appropriate conflict resolution solution. These are known as enablers. So I'm telling you about 3 terminologies. One is domain, second is task, third is enabler. What is this? You have the explanation. What is the page number 3? In page number 3, they're explaining what do you mean by domain, task, and enabler. Domain is defined as the high-level knowledge area that is essential to the practice of project management. So, according to PMI, you have to have high-level knowledge about three domains: people, process, and business environment, which are essential for the practice of project management. Now, within domain, we have tasks. Listen carefully, this is important. Tasks are the underlying responsibilities of the project manager within each domain. So what are the responsibilities of the project manager? What does that mean? Everything what we are learning in our training are from the perspective of a project manager. Here onwards, whatever I'm explaining, even what I explained so far about, as I told you, organizational change management, who should do it? Project manager. Again, project manager means not alone. There will be a team, but who is in the top is project manager. So hereafter, whatever we are going to learn, or most of the things we are going to learn, are from a project manager's point of view. Most of the questions in the examination will be from a project manager's point of view. As a project, we learned in the last class, as a project manager, what is the first thing to do? Today we learn, as a project manager, what you should learn from that. PMP examination for two categories of people. One, you're already a project manager, you're certifying your skills. Two, you are not yet a project manager, but this certification will help you to become a project manager. You're already in a project management role, but not yet a project manager. Whether you are a project manager today or you are not a project manager, during the class, during the practice of the practice questions, mock examination, when you're actually taking the exam, until you pass the examination, you have to assume yourself as a project manager. Simple way to change your mindset. If I'm a team member, how I will think about a project, how I will make a decision will be different than if I'm a project manager, how I am going to deal with that situation. You need to. If you're a project manager, probably you are already having that idea. Again, you have to unlearn to learn. We are learning it from ideal scenario. If you're not at a project manager, practicing these questions, I mean, obviously understanding these concepts and practicing these questions should bring you to a project manager's mindset. Then only you will pass the exam. Very simple technique. Is it difficult? No. This next 40 plus hours, you are going to hear from me from a project manager's point of view, what you should do and what you should not do. Another 1000 questions you are going to practice from a project manager's point of view, what is the right answer, what is the wrong answer. When you go for the exam, as I told you, that will be another mock examination. Again, if you do it continuously, don't take a gap. Like some of you did, you finished the training, took a gap, it didn't materialize. In a stretch, finish the whole project. So if I go to the people domain, the first task is managing conflict. Who is responsible to manage the conflict? Project manager. Lead the team. Who will be leading the team? Project manager, and so on. Next, enablers, that bullet points within the task. Illustrative examples of the work associated with the task. So, one of the responsibilities of the project manager is to manage conflict. What he or she should do to manage conflict? There are three work items related to that. Interpret the source and stage of the conflict. Analyze the context of the conflict. Evaluate, recommend, reconcile the appropriate conflict resolution solution. This is also giving a better understanding how you should approach a PMP examination question. It doesn't say manage conflict. The responsibility is manage conflict. What work the project manager should do? Resolve the conflict. No. Resolving is the last thing to do. We discussed in the last class. Action is the last thing. First, interpret the source and stage of the conflict. When a conflict is escalated to you as a project manager, see what is the source and in what stage we are in. We will be discussing about this in detail in the later part of our training, and very important concept actually. Why this conflict is coming? Is it just in the disagreement stage, or it is in a intraceable situation stage? You should know that. Then analyze the context of the conflict. Who are all involved? Where are we? How it is affecting my project, etc. After knowing all this, then evaluate, recommend, That's decision making. Appropriate conflict resolution. You know, conflict is coming to me. This is my solution. Go and implement it. May not be the right thing to do, or will not be the right thing to do. Even when you approach the question, you follow the same methodology. So that's a simple way to understand what is a domain. High-level knowledge area for the practice of project management. Task, responsibilities of a project manager, and the enablers are associated work with the task. Any questions? Right. Next point. So I understood the syllabus for the PMP exam. What hat you have to wear to pass the PMP exam, to prepare for the PMP exam, or while attending this class? There's a different kind of thinking, in fact. So next, the tasks given here are not in order. Meaning, you should not assume, okay, in people management, the first responsibility of a project manager is to manage conflict. No, that is not given in any specific order. This is just the task, list of tasks. So I'm asking you, give me the list of your activities. You are telling me, so you're not putting this is my first activity, second activity. This is a list of activities, or this is a list of tasks. Very important. Because you should not take, okay, first I will manage the conflict, next I will lead a team, next support. No. What is the first thing to do for you? You have to identify that. This is called customizing the concepts to implement in your project, or simply known as tailoring. What is the first task for me? For example, if I'm assigned as a project manager for a project, maybe the first task for me is build a team. That's the first thing I'm going to do, which is going to task 6. Maybe there is already a team. I'm joining during the project. The team is built. Maybe the first task for me is to lead a team. I'm just giving an example, but don't quote me, oh, this is the first thing. Not mandatory. I'm just giving an example. So it all depends on your project. You have to do the tailoring as required for your project. But for the PMP exam, this is your checklist. At the end of the preparation, take a printout or soft. You can make notes. Actually, I'm not opening in Adobe Reader. If you open an Adobe Reader, there will be an option to take a note. You can say, okay, I know about this. Tick, 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 tick all those enablers. What you know very well for the examination, then you're good to go. If you see, oh, I don't know how to set the clear vision and mission, go back and practice questions. Go back and check the class video. Make it clear. Now I know it clearly, then move on to the next one. This is a checklist for you at the end of your preparation to know, are you fully ready for the PMP examination or not? So I have tailored my training. So usually I have a way of training, a storytelling, how it goes in a real-time project, which is a little bit different than the way PMI have given me the slides. But this is proven so far for the last 6 years. Most of our participants have said, yes, it's clear for us to understand the concept. So I'm going to start with process domain, from where you'll get 50% of the questions. In that, I will start with 13, task number 13, determine appropriate project methodology, methods, and practices. So in many cases, that will be one of your first tasks in a project. What methodology you are going to follow in that project? Is it going to be predictive, agile, or hybrid? From now on, we are going to discuss about all three in parallel: predictive, agile, and hybrid. As you know, 50% of the questions in the examination will be from predictive project management. It's given here. About half of the examination will represent predictive project management. Okay. And other half will represent agile or hybrid approaches. Simple. It's not that difficult. Maybe for some of you, this is the first time you are learning about agile, but it's going to be simple. With that overview, let's start with the, first topic, determine appropriate project methodology, methods, and practices, which is in fact domain 2, task 13, if I'm right. To understand about the project methodology, methods, and practices, you have to know about project life cycle. right? According to PMPOK guide, a project will be normally split into number of phases. Depends on the type of the project you are in. You may have 5 or 6 phases or 1 or 2 phases. Project life cycle is the collection of project phases. Project life cycle is the collection of project phases. First phase is where the project life cycle begins, and the last phase is where the project life cycle ends. Depends on the type of the project you are in, the name of the phases may differ. If you are in a construction project, you may name your phases as feasibility study, planning, design, construction, turnover, or handover, startup. Software development means requirements gathering, designing, programming, testing, and implementing. Example. By the way, it can change as well. If it is my project, probably after design, I'll have one more phase called tendering. As a client, we go and appoint a contractor consultant to do the project. So that's another phase for us. And in my organization also, we have a huge IT team. They're developing a number of software, and there are other phases which are not mentioned here. Depends on the project. This is just an example, by the way. You will be able to recognize the end of the phase. At the end of the phase, you will get one or more outputs. These outputs are known as deliverables. What is the definition of a deliverable? A deliverable is a tangible, verifiable work result. Verifiable work result. That is a deliverable. End of the phase. End of a particular phase, I have to complete, or my team have to complete a table like this. Phase done, table ready. Deliverable is a table. In end of your phase, probably they have to come up with a report. That could be a deliverable. I mean, that's not a project deliverable. We have two types of deliverable, management deliverable. So let's not talk about management deliverable. We'll talk about project deliverable. You are doing the real actual work and bringing some deliverable. Assume you are the project manager. Let's start thinking as a project manager. Your team finished that phase. They have a deliverable and they are reporting to you. Mr. Project Manager, here is a deliverable. You finished with the phase. What is one of the important tasks, or what is the first thing to do? Management work to do as a project manager. Type in the chat box. The team is reporting to you. Here is a deliverable. What you will do? What is the first thing to do? So assume the table is a deliverable, or the program what you developed is a deliverable, or the completed room is a deliverable, whatever. As a project manager, what you have to do? Am I audible? Hope you can hear me, right? Yes. Verify, prepare handover documents, QC, evaluate, list of the deliverable, list out the deliverable, sorry, the product, assess the deliverable. Close, related, but that's not the first thing to do. Some of your answers are right. One of the first thing to do is check the quality of your deliverable. You have to verify it. That is quality control, right? So what you'll do, we'll ask the quality control team to come and verify. This is what we are seeing, verifiable work result. Verify it. Is it done according to the specifications? Is the length correct, width correct, height correct, color correct, thickness correct? For in this deliverable, for example, depending on the deliverable, they will test and tell you quality test passed, or no, go and redo it. Assume the quality test passed. Yeah, verify the deliverable is right. Verify the product, quality control. Yeah, handover and all a little bit later, actually, not immediately. Verification is correct. Yeah, I mean, close. Handover is right, but that is one of the steps. Okay, now this is a step-by-step you have to learn, and this will help you to think in the right direction to answer questions in the examination. They will not ask you, what is the next thing to do? They will say in the exam question, you have a deliverable as a project manager, this is what you're doing. You should know, oh, deliverable is just finished. That means my first responsibility to test the quality. Oh, this is happening during quality control. And that will lead to the right way to think and answer the question. Quality control says passed. What's next? Think as a man. Okay, think as a project manager, as a management responsibility. What is the next step? Once quality control says this deliverable is acceptable, you have to bring in the customer for review and they have to accept it. Many times we don't do it. Oh, quality control said it's passed. Let's go to the next step. No, bring in your customer or customer representative. Ask them to have a look and let them say, I accept it. Right? Let's say this table is done for me as a customer. And my purpose of this table is to conduct my online training. I have various electronic devices in front of me to control. I have my laptop, I have my monitor, my camera, my deck stream, and so on, writing board, etc. So at the beginning, we discussed and agreed, okay, this is the product is going to be. So team completed, project manager is testing with the quality control team. They are seeing is the length according to the document, width according to the document. So quality control team will check the deliverable against the specifications. Against the specifications, I'll put as specs. But when the customer is reviewing, they will check the deliverable against their requirements. Is it meeting their requirements? Okay, this table, will it be enough for me to keep all my devices and do my training comfortably? If it is yes, I will accept. If it is no, I'll ask for a change. Again, what is the reason? Maybe I gave I gave wrong requirements, or your team haven't understood it clearly. Accordingly, the cost impact will be. But that's a process, right? Assume customer accepted it. Customer says, oh, perfect. This is helping me too. This is meeting my requirements. I just gave an example for requirements. Depends on the project, your requirement will be. What's next? You need to close that particular phase. If it is end of a phase, if it is end of the project, you have to close that project. Now, you have to know another important point for the PMP examination. There are 3 levels when it comes to project. One is doing the work, project work. Another one is managing the work. Another one is governing the work. The team will do the work. Who will bring the deliverable is the team who is doing the work. And the second level is manage. So project manager, quality control team, and who are all involved in the next steps are the management team. Management team means they are responsible for project management activities such as planning, organizing, coordinating, staffing, controlling, monitoring, reporting, etc. They are involved in the project management work. So they will coordinate the customer to get the acceptance and so on. There is a governance team about that. Governance is a decision-making team. We have many banks in a country, in every country, but there will be a governing bank. Qatar, we call as Qatar Central Bank, or India, it's Reserve Bank of India. Depends on the country you are, and there will be a governance. They are the one going to make the decisions, right? Whether it is exchange rate or it is like the interest rate, they make the decision. Similarly, governance team for the project is above the project manager who is governing the project manager and the team. They are involved in this. They look into everything and they'll make one of these 3 decisions. Decision number 1 is everything looks good. We are on track. Continue. No changes. Or decision number 2, one of these 3 decisions will make change and continue. Based on what they learned from phase 1, maybe they will make changes to the remaining phase work or whatever it is. Okay. Now, this is anyway progressive elaboration. We learned something new. We will update next phase work or whatever requirements, etc. Then continue. Or 3, they'll say stop the project. Thank you. We are not continuing. Whatever the reason, because of the quality of the output, or there are some changes in the internal or external environment, whatever the reason, they say we cannot continue this project. That is decision making. No change, continue, or there are changes, implement the change and continue, or stop the project. So this phase, these phase and meetings are known as phase gates, also known as stage gates, also known as kill points. Why it is known as kill point? Because of the third reason. In my organization or projects, we call it as gateway meetings, gateways. There will be gateways after every phase to decide what to do next. Whatever it is. This is not there in PMP Guide. Maybe I know some companies in Middle East, they call it gateways for your information. I think the decision is continued, right? What's next? We have to, this is where handover is coming. Usually, output of a phase will be the input for the next phase. Okay, so you finished, everything is done. Now I can give this as an input for the next phase. That is the handover stage. Substructure is the input for superstructure. Program is the input for testing, etc. Can I go and start with the next phase? No, not it. There is one more important step, authorization to start with the next phase. Then you can start with the next phase. What is this authorization? Depends on the type of the project you are in. We call it as permits, approvals, etc. Because you finished with the phase, you can't immediately go and start with the next phase. You should have, or you should get authorization for every phase. Like in my project, we call it as road opening permit, DC1, DC2, environmental permit, lot. In IT project, it could be authorization from the management. Can we go and start with the next phase? Right? So again, some authorizations can take longer. That doesn't mean you will start applying for the authorization only after handover. Probably once this deliverable is done, immediately you will start applying for the permits. But before you start with the next phase, you should have all the required authorizations or / permits or approvals in place. Then you can start with the next phase. Keep in mind, all these will happen between every phase. But not always. Not always. There are two ways the phases will be linked. One is sequential relationship. You finish a phase, then phase 2, then phase 3. Then whatever we discussed here is applicable after phase 1. You will do everything, then phase 2, then phase 3. Sometimes before you finish with the phase, you may start with another phase. You may start with another phase. Okay? Overlapping phases is known as fast tracking in project management. Overlapping phases is known as fast tracking in project management. Okay, what is the advantage of fast tracking? Why we have to fast track? If I do it in sequence, I will finish the project here. By overlapping the phases, I can finish it here. I am saving time. That is the advantage. So advantage of fast tracking is saving time. What is the disadvantage of fast tracking? It's a high-risk project comparing to a normally sequenced project. You take more risk in fast-track project, but a calculated risk for a purpose. Purpose is to save time. When you fast-track, sometimes the work what you do at this stage may impact some work you already finished in phase 2. You may want to go and redo it. That's a calculated risk you are taking to get that benefit. Question. Can we fast track all the phases in a project? A, yes. B, no. Is it possible to fast track all the phases in every project we are managing? The answer is not necessary to be. When you can fast track, if output of a phase is not required as an input to the next phase, you can fast track. Substructure and superstructure, by nature of the work, after finishing phase 1, only you can start with phase 2. You cannot fast track. Programming testing, by the nature, you have to do in this way. That is, you have to do in that sequence. But civil work and interior designing, for example, in a construction project, you can fast track. When after starting with the civil work, you may start doing the internal design in the paper. Not an issue, because output of civil work is not required as an input for interior design. Programming and documentation, you can fast track, right? All phases you cannot fast track. You have to be careful. You have to understand the risk what you are taking when you are fast tracking. What is not fast tracking? I am doing the training. You are listening the training. Is it fast tracking? Type A if you think yes. Type B if you think no. We are doing this in parallel. I'm conducting the training. You are listening. Is it fast tracking? A, yes. B, no. A, yes. Okay. You got the question right? I'm conducting the training and you are listening. Is it fast tracking? The answer is no. It's not fast tracking. By the nature of the work, it has to happen in this way. There are some work in your project, you have to do it in parallel because of the nature, because of the requirement, whatever. That is not fast tracking. What is fast tracking is, I should have done it in parallel, sorry, in sequence, but to save time, I am doing it in parallel. Like I can finish the whole training, then I can start with preparation. But I want to go for the examination early, so I prepare for the examination in parallel to training. This is fast track. You got the point? By nature of the work, if you're doing two activities in parallel, it's not fast tracking. But to save time, to get the benefit, you can do it in sequence, but you are planning to do it in parallel to get that advantage. That is fast track. Then you have to be careful, right? Is it clear? Right. Now we are going to talk about the core point. We have 20 minutes left. I don't know whether we can finish all, but to the extent we will finish, and then we will continue in the next class. Right. In the project life cycle, there will be one or more phases in which you'll be developing the real product of the project. That phase is known as development phase in project management or development life cycle. I repeat, you'll have a number of phases in your project. Out of those phases, there will be one or more phases where you'll be developing the real product of the project. That phase is known as development phase. Let's go back to our example. Feasibility study is phase 1. Feasibility study is phase 1. Planning is phase 2. Design phase 3. Construction phase 4. Turnover or handover phase 5. Startup operations or starting the operation. Operations is not a part of the project. It will be outside the project. So we have 6 phases in this project. Type in the chat box. Out of these 6 phases, which phase or phases is the development phase? In which phase or phases you are developing the real product of the project? Which one or how many development phases are here? 4, construction. 3, design, construction. 3, design. 2, planning. 4, construction. 3, design. The only phase in which you are developing the real product of the project is 4, construction phase. Design is creating a piece of paper. You're not developing anything. The moment you start putting the first cornerstone, you're starting the real work. So design is not development work. Planning is not developing. The developing the real product happens in the construction phase. So the only phase in which you develop the product is construction phase. Requirements gathering is phase A. Designing is phase B. Programming phase D. Testing phase D. Implementation phase C of a software development. Type in the chat box. Which phase or phases are the development phases of software development project? C, programming. C, programming. E, implementation. The only phase in which you develop the real product of the project is C, program. Implementation is just implementing that particular. Again, this is developing the software, not implementing software. Then it's different. Yes, implementation can be, but in software development, the phase in which you develop the real product of the project is programming, not implementing. Testing, no, you're just testing what you developed. That is not part of development. That is not, it's part of development phase, but it is not where you develop the real product of the project. So the next concept we're going to discuss is not only, but mainly applicable for development phases in which you're developing the real product of the project. Okay. Development life cycle can be predictive, iterative or iterative, however you pronounce it, incremental, adaptive or hybrid models. So you can develop the real product of the project, okay, development life cycle, in predictive, in iterative or iterative, in incremental, in adaptive or in hybrid models. Let's take an example. For some of you, it could be like completely new. First time you're going to learn. Some of you already finished the training, so you have an idea, maybe you forgot it. Some of you know it very well because you are practicing, whatever, to bring all of you in the same page. Let's take an example. We'll mainly focus today's class. We have 15, 17, 18 minutes left. Predictive, agile or adaptive and hybrid. Later in the next class, we'll talk about iterative and incremental. Preparation of design documents or engine documents is the whole phase or part of the phase. If it is a phase, then is this usually considered single phase or different? Example, electrical designs, mechanical documents is single phase or different. Hasib, before going to the question, if you are a designer, your project is to prepare the design. And for you, in your project, design is a development phase. That is where you are implementing your execution phase, right? Implementation. But we are discussing from a whole project perspective, from the beginning to the end, for the whole construction. In that, design is not a development phase, construction is a development phase. Again, it's same actually. In what project you are in may differ. I'm talking about an example where the consultant is responsible for the development of the design. For them, development phase is design. But example we discussed about the whole project life cycle, and their design is not the development. Now coming to your question, how you are going to split your work into phases, that depends on the real project. There is no hard and fast rule. If it is a simple project, everything could be in one single phase, right? It's a villa construction, for example, a single story villa construction. It could be a single phase. But if it is a major high-rise building or a major development, each one could be a separate phase or even more. So there is no hard and fast rule whether it has to be a single phase or different phases as you requested. It all depends on the project requirement. Does that answer the question, Nazir? Okay, great. Coming back to this, today we're going to discuss about these three, development life cycles: predictive, adaptive, hybrid. 50% of questions in the examination will be about predictive. Other 50% will be about adaptive or hybrid. Let's take an example to understand what is predictive life cycle. I will bring a whiteboard and we'll use the whiteboard to discuss about this concept, because we will recall these concepts in our other classes as well. Especially in the next class, we have to come back to, this concept. So hope you can see my whiteboard. Can you confirm the chat box? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Predictive, great. Or plan-based or waterfall or traditional. All terminologies they may use in the examination. It's all same. What is it? I'll explain that one by one. So they may call it as a predictive life cycle or plan-based project or a waterfall project or traditional project, all the same. No difference. I mean, another terminology basically. Let's talk about a single-story villa construction project to understand this concept. So I'm designing. The designer is preparing the design. Assume it's a villa. It may not look like a villa. Maybe when I was in grade 2 or grade 3, we learned how to draw a villa. I'm not a designer. So we designed it. We discussed with the customer. We updated. We finalized. Design approved. And based on this design, we are preparing a project plan. What work to do, in what sequence we will do it, what material we use, what will be the budget, what will be the resources, all we are planning. Development haven't started yet. Development is real construction. So development or construction will follow the plan, which is in fact development, right? And at the end, let me see if I can copy and paste this. Okay. Okay, so assume the same thing we delivered. Okay. Okay. This is a predictive project or a plan-based project. So what do you mean by predictive? Before you go and develop the real product, you predict everything, you plan everything in the planning stage. What activity we will do, what sequence we will do it, how much we are going to spend for that, what resources we are going to utilize, everything, including quantities and so on, we predict. Sorry. And We just follow the plan. At the end, what we design, we're going to deliver as it is. Similar, same thing, no change. So predictive means we're predicting everything in advance before we go and develop the real product. Plan-based means whatever you are doing is same thing actually. We are following the plan. What is waterfall? I'll tell you after Agile. Traditional means this is a very old methodology, probably from early 19th, 18th century. They're already using this methodology, traditional, old methodology. Next, let's talk about Agile. Okay, that's predictive. Now we'll go for Agile, or we have to bring that to just compare with the name. Change based or adaptive or modern. It's like instead of predictive, we have Agile. Plan-based, we have change-based. Waterfall, adaptive. Traditional, modern. Let's take another example. Disclaimer. The examples what I'm giving is just make you understand the concept. If you are in villa construction, you may not see it exactly what you're doing is represented here, just to understand the concept. Similarly, I'm going to take a website development project just to ensure the concept is clear. If you are in that project, what I'm explaining could be a little different than what you're really doing. Assume B site doesn't have a website, they want a website. So they appointed a project team and asked them to develop the website. So the project team is sitting with the B site management and discussing, okay, let us know what's your requirement, how the website has to be. We don't know exactly what we want. We want a website. Here are some samples, other education institutes, etc. And this is a facility what you're looking for. But we don't know exactly how exactly how the building is going to look like. We already know from the planning before we start developing, we know the building is going to be like this. Here we don't know. So because we don't know the scope very well, the product very well, in the second example, we are not going to develop the whole product. Then it will be a risk. If we develop the whole thing without a lot of uncertainties, you will end up in redoing everything. So what they normally do is they cut the project into pieces. Okay, they take one piece at a time. Let's say home page. Okay, they're taking the home page. So at the beginning of the development homepage role, they'll sit with the customer and say, what do you want in the homepage? They say, okay, these are the things what you're looking from the homepage. They may take, for example, 2 weeks time. Let's say example, to develop it based on the discussion they had with, not a return document saying exactly what we want as a plan, as a design like the previous one. Based on the discussion, they are developing the homepage and they are demonstrating here. They are explaining, okay, based on our discussion 2 weeks back, this is what we developed. You think customer will say, wow, excellent, this is exactly what I want to approve? No. Will say, so this is some first time they are seeing a website for the company. So they will create more ideas on them. Oh, very good. Like, but add this, modify this. Almost everything they will change. Right? Now, this color scheme is not good. This font is not good. You can put that top in the bottom, that button, you change that button, you add, etc. They will go back and say, okay, give us another week or two. We will come back to you with the changes. So what they are changing is not the plan, not the design, the real product. Software development or website development is like how you are doing the construction of a building. You're developing a website is the real product you are developing. So then another 2 weeks, they'll come back and show, okay, based on the feedback what you provided, here is what. Now the customer will say, okay, 50%, good, we accept all. But other 50% we want change. Okay, fine. Let us give another week or two. We'll go back and we'll come back to you. Now we'll say, okay, 80% we accept. Another 20% we have to change. Now they say, okay, this is good. We accept. Right? This is change-based methodology. Not a plan-based, predictive. Customer is giving the change and you're adopting to that change and you are implementing it, adapting. It's modern. Only for the last 20 plus years they are using this. So it is modern. That is what Agile is. If you go and search in the dictionary, the meaning for the word Agile is like speed or frequent changes or adapting to the situations. Now, another important point to know, in a predictive project, if this construction is going to be for, let's say, 1 year, only after 1 year, at the end of the project, you will be able to start using that product. The final product will be ready only Sorry, you can use the product only when the final product is ready. But here, now the homepage is complete, 100% fine. So they'll say, okay, let's publish the homepage. Now you don't have a website, but now at this stage, we are going to publish the homepage. You will have a website, but only one page. Is the project done? No, only one phase is done. But as soon as that phase is done or that page is complete here, it is published for the customer to use. So if it is B-side company, they can get the registration to this website or whatever it is, whatever options in the home page they can use. Now parallelly, they will start working in the second page, let's say PMP training page. Same thing, they'll have a discussion here and they develop it, feedback, update, feedback, update. Now they say, okay, PMP page done, let's publish the PMP page. Now there will be 2 pages. Now next page. So likewise at the end, there will be complete website published. But at the end of the first development of the first page itself, there is a website, but not full website. One page is there for the public, for the customers to use. This process of developing is agile methodology. Called as agile means change-based. And it's new, so it is modern. Right? So we discussed why this is known as waterfall. Here it's one direction. You design, you plan, you construct, you deliver. You constructed the basement, you see, oh, customer doesn't like it. No, let's go back, demolish, do it again. No, it's like waterfall, A to B, one direction. It will not go back. But here it is adaptive, change-based, so there will be recurring work. As you can see here, the work is repeated until the customer is happy. Customer is providing acceptance. So that is the meaning of waterfall, one directional work. The third is hybrid. In predictive, we have some advantage and some disadvantage. In agile, we have some advantage, we have some disadvantage. Why we have to stick to one methodology? Let's use the best of both the worlds. So hybrid is predictive plus agile. Phase 1, I have clearly defined requirements. I'll go for predictive. Phase 2, no, I have to learn from my customer and modify, update it accordingly. I'll go for agile. Then it is hybrid. So don't think what we learned, wow, I'm master of agile now. No, what you learned is just the basic. What is the difference between predictive, agile, and hybrid? Question. Can we use agile in all the projects? Type A if you think yes, B if you think no. After learning the basics, no. Okay, all of you are saying no. Looks like you understood the concept. Very good. I'm not going to give the answer now. I'll play a video and you will get the answer from the video. Let me, share the sound and watch the video and come back. This is the video from PMI. That will help you to know whether you can use agile in all the projects or not. It is like 2 minutes video, 3 minutes video. By the way, if you cannot hear the volume, let me know in the chat box if you can't hear the volume.
Welcome to the Project Management Institute's Spotlight series. In this presentation, you'll point the spotlight on when to apply agile methodologies. You have heard the hype and are anxious to begin your first agile project. But wait, there is something you should think about and remember. Agile methodologies and practices do not work in every situation and with every project type. Let's look at some of the projects ideally suited for agile approaches, and some where agile approaches are riskier or at least less advised. Agile practices work best when you can move fast, change direction, and even break things to figure out what to do next. Breaking things and creating waste is not a reasonable approach for some projects. Projects where the waste is physical, tangible materials like buildings or airplanes can be costly and damaging. You cannot or should not dig a hole and pour concrete over and over again until you like the location. Those kinds of decisions require planning before the work begins, or you can end up with problems. Likewise, applying a coat of paint to get user feedback on the best color may work in limited situations, but in most projects, the time and cost to paint and repaint is counterproductive and expensive. Meanwhile, projects involving virtual or intellectual materials are better suited for agile approaches. Software development is where the approach began and still reigns, for obvious reasons. Software is developed with a lot of unknowns and potential situations for miscommunications or misunderstandings between development teams and end users. Agile approaches provide freedom to explore, engage, and react. And since code and other computer work can be deleted, updated, reworked, and refactored, there is little loss. Yes, time was lost in its creation, but it is far less than the time spent creating something no one wants, can't use, or that doesn't meet the need. Beyond software development, there are other places where agile methodologies could fit, depending on the willingness of the organization and the purpose of the endeavor. Research and development, such as experimenting with potential pharmaceuticals or exploring new approaches to arrange a travel excursion, lends itself to the agile approach. For example, marketing campaigns could be arranged to respond quickly to customer feedback and pivot as needed. As long as your project or a major portion of it relies more on the intangible elements of the knowledge workers on your team, and you can scrap or redo work without too much financial burden, then you might have a good candidate for an agile project. And that's how you can tell if your project is a good candidate to apply the agile approach. Thanks.
So that means all your answers are right. You cannot use Agile in all the projects where you can break things. It is more of knowledge-based project, like I told you, website development or software development. In fact, Agile came from software development. Right, there you can use Agile. More on that we'll discuss in the next class, but I just take 1 more minute to discuss about different types of hybrids. There are various types of hybrids, First type is very simple, 50% Agile, 50% predictive. For example, you develop the software in Agile and you implement the software in predictive. Simple. Another one is both in parallel. Some part of the project you do in Agile, some other part you do in predictive. Throughout the project, you will see both the components. Third is, it's a predictive project, but a particular part, I don't have the well-defined scope, I'll go for Agile, right? That is a predictive project, but there are some Agile components. Fourth is other way around. It's an Agile project, but in one particular part, I have a clearly defined requirement. I'll go for predictive. So you can pick and choose, mix and match according to your requirements in your project. That's the end of class 2. We discussed about some important concepts. Have a look into the notes and I'll share the video in the WhatsApp group as well as in the LMS we'll get by tomorrow.